What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down on what moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi went up 4.89%. So pretty solid day, good way to start 2026. 27.50 the high, 25.79 the low, and 54.8 million shares being traded. So a good amount of volume. You did see a lot linked to algorithmic trading, and a lot of that was just piggybacking off of the broader market's sentiment in regards to tech and AI. So a lot of analysts somehow had an epiphany in the new year and just somehow think that tech and AI are substantially at a deep discount in many cases. So this is why you did see a lot of growth stocks really moving higher. So that's, I don't think anyone really complained about that, but still hats off to the individuals that were buying the dip. And for those of you that tuned into a lot of my videos, these red days while SoFi was going down, institutions were buying, just algos were really suppressing SoFi. So definitely hats off to the individuals that did buy the dip. But today we did have one data point that came out first thing or right after the bell, and that was S&P Global Manufacturing came in at 51.8. That didn't really move the market all too much because the market was already hyped up prior to that, but still it does signal that there's some good growth going on behind the scenes. Aside from that, for those of you that tuned into my weekend video, I said that today we were most likely going to get SoFi's announcement on when the earnings is going to be. And lo and behold, that's exactly what did happen. So at 8 a.m. they did put this out, slated it for January the 30th at 8 a.m. I would love one time for SoFi just to do it in the after hours because yeah, 8 a.m. bright and early, that's sometimes difficult for some individuals, but nonetheless, I did a video about 6-7 months ago where I calculated historically when SoFi announces the date of their earnings compared to the stock performance right before their earnings. And on average, it goes up roughly around 3.3%, if I remember correctly. So that's kind of a good thing in reality. So from now up until January the 30th, you can kind of expect a 3.5% run for the most part. Aside from that, there really wasn't that much that did come out, whether that be specific to SoFi or macro. They did post this yesterday, so happy new year to everyone. I didn't do a SoFi video or else I would have brought this up yesterday, but SoFi just tweeted saying that we've officially landed in Times Square. So in reality, this is pretty epic stuff. It really does signal that SoFi is ready for 2026 and is going to make cryptocurrency its priority. So definitely good to see. Aside from that though, shorts didn't really do too much. They returned about 58,000 shares. 9.5% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 118 million shares overall are being shorted. Still see two signs of manipulation with SoFi. Clearly didn't really affect the stock price too much, but cost to borrow minimum is negative. So starting off 2026, still continuing on, so at least they haven't changed. But you also do see the number of shares on loan less than number of shares being shorted, so still some signs of naked shorting occurring. But nonetheless, with it closing at 27.46, that does mean that the 27 and below strike prices are considered in the money. And so we did have roughly around 13,000 at the 27, 4,000 at the 26.50, 2,000 at the 26 in the money. So that could, in theory, give a nice bump up going into next week. But I do believe that market makers already covered that because there was some abnormal transactions that was just done on the dark pool. And so this one right here, $31.2 million, again, done after hours at a price of 27.46, 1.1 million shares. That kind of covers a good chunk of this right here. So most likely you might not see any bump up going into next week. So market makers already kind of covered that. So they were kind of proactive. A lot of big transactions occurring on the secondary market. So big ones were 68.2, 9.06, 8.9, 6.3. So a lot of big transactions occurring both on the secondary market and also the dark pool. So the other big ones on the dark pool were kind of done in the first half of the trading day. So 7.2, 2 million, 1.4, 1.3, and so forth, with it closing at 27.46. Closed between this R1 and the pivot. So 27.26 and 29.26. That's going to be the next strong support and target. So it's kind of funny. SoFi has one pretty phenomenal green day, and you already have people online saying that SoFi is going to be hitting like $35 next week. So I don't know if 35 is realistic to assume for next week, but tech and AI is going to be the big focal point with CES. So don't be surprised if you see some kind of FOMO kicking in with SoFi really pushing it higher. And most likely that's also why a lot of analysts gave some pretty bullish sentiment boosters across the board. So a lot of semis were getting kind of re-rated and so forth. No new ratings came out associated to SoFi though, so it was just kind of piggybacking off the broader market. Nothing really wrong with that though. Aside from all of that fun stuff on the actual chart itself, like I kind of mentioned in last couple of videos, even though institutions were buying, I kind of mentioned that it could have went either way. So for instance, even looking at yesterday's market position, so this right here, all SoFi needed was a little gentle push, and SoFi could have easily went up or a little bit lower. I've been stating this for the last couple of days that it could have went either way. Luckily enough, we did have some good optimism to really kick off 2026. So now looking at the market position, again, all it needs is that nice gentle push, and you can easily see kind of a test of that 50-day moving average. And generally that's a very big deal for SoFi. And if it breaks above that, then realistically you can kind of assume 29 or potentially even 30, or if you're some of those individuals posting online, maybe 35, who knows. But I think for right now, big thing to watch for is going to be that 50-day moving average. But nonetheless, watch for my video over the weekend where I go over some expectations for this upcoming week, so next week, and everything else that you need to know. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. Hopefully everyone had a good new year, has a good weekend ahead of them. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.